thing up and try to run out the rest of this clock.
And they have done it. Chiefs are Super Bowl champions here in Miami.
All right, now bring me the Patrick Mahomes guy. You turned it on in the fourth quarter, 3 straight drives. What is it about you and this team that allows you to do that?
It's this team. We have heart. I mean, that's just from day one. Coach pushes us to be the best people that we can be, and we never give up. And I think those guys around us, the leaders that we have on this team, they have that mindset that we never give up, and we're going to fight until the end.
Well, congratulations. The youngest player ever to be MVP in the league and the youngest player to be MVP in Super Bowl. Both of those, that's an amazing record. Congratulations, young man.
Thank you, Kansas City. We did it, baby.
They sure did. So, Cian Fahey, come on in, a regular and off the ball on the Snap as well, our NFL show every Friday. We are talking Patrick Mahomes, Kansas City Chiefs, coming back from 10 points down in the fourth quarter. They have won Super Bowl 54, their first in 50 years. Was it ever in doubt, Cian?
Oh, it was definitely in doubt. To go a little bit behind the curtain, I guess, I was writing the deadline for Off the Ball itself, and midway through the third quarter, I still had a good feeling about Patrick Mahomes and felt that they were going to actually come back and win the game. And then him and Tyreek Hill had a little bit of a miscommunication. It looked like a very ugly throw, but it wasn't really an ugly throw. He was trying to throw the ball to a very specific spot, and Tyreek Hill kept going instead of stopping in the place he thought he was going to stop in. So that led to an interception. At that point, there was 10 minutes left in the game, a 10-point lead, and it felt like it was out of reach because they'd struggled to move the ball so much throughout the whole game.
Patrick Mahomes was playing in his first Super Bowl. So looking at the first 3 quarters, were you looking at a guy who, in some respects, was rattled, was struggling to deal with the occasion, or was he always threatening to do something special?
I don't think it was about the occasion. I do think that was probably his worst performance of his career, which is kind of saying something that you win the Super Bowl with the worst performance of your career. That's how good he's been. I think it was more about how much the 49ers were able to hit him. So the 49ers defense has been great all season long, and they've been great because they've got guys like Nick Bosa, Eric Armstead, DeForest Buckner up front, who are these mammoth human beings who are also great athletes. And they were able to get to Mahomes early, get to Mahomes very often, and they were able to get consistent pressure. And you kind of saw as the game wore on that Mahomes got a little bit looser with his decision-making, got a little bit looser with his footwork, and everything started to look a little bit worse off than it was. And that kind of little bit of inconsistency came when he was missing a couple of big wide-open throws in the third quarter. Obviously, he rebounded in the fourth quarter. But as a performance, the first half, it felt like he was extremely tough. And that's kind of the direction I went in looking back on the game, because while he wasn't making spectacular throws, he couldn't throw the ball down the field because of the way the 49ers set up. They literally had one throw over 20 yards in the first half, which is a team that had threw the ball over 40 yards downfield all the time during the regular season. So he wasn't actually given those opportunities to make spectacular plays. But what he did do was run the ball quite well. He also executed a lot of new design plays that Andy Reid had saved for the final game of the season. There was one in particular that really stood out to convert to 4th and 1, where they ran what's called a speed option play, where you purposely create a 2-on-1, like an overlap in rugby, with your running back running outside of the quarterback and the quarterback running with the ball. And normally you do that to the side that the running back is on, because you need the running back to be outside of you so you can throw the ball to him outside. And Andy Reid, being the genius that he is, added this little wrinkle where he had the running back line up on the opposite side of the field. So Mahomes is now running away from the guy who's going to run outside of him and eventually catch the ball. And it looked very, very similar to Johnny Sexton wraparound in a rugby play, where Mahomes has to pop the ball behind him blindly, throwing it to nobody and just expecting his player to be there. And it worked perfectly because it dragged the defender in and gave the running back a free run outside. So while Mahomes wasn't making the spectacular throws, he was making plays like that throughout the whole game.
Yeah, and maybe it's worth pointing out that for just the 3rd time ever, I think he is a quarterback who threw multiple interceptions in the game and still took the MVP. I think Tom Brady, Terry Bradshaw, the other 2. So that ties in with your point that this was not a stinker for 3 quarters by any means. But man, did he come alive in the fourth quarter. Try and explain to people how electrifying it was. You know, you're watching it live. A lot of people are bleary-eyed over here or will be watching it back this evening. What he did in that fourth quarter.
Well, it was basically 2 big plays. So there was a 3rd and 15, which means you need 15 yards, or you're getting 4th down and you're going to be losing the ball. at midfield. And this was the point in the game where they could not afford to give up the ball anymore. They absolutely had to score a touchdown on that drive. There was about 8 minutes left in the fourth quarter, whatever it was. And it was 3rd and 15, so the defense knew they were throwing the ball deep downfield. Mahomes connects with Tyreek Hill for 44 yards. He managed to do it because the offensive line held up a little bit better than it had to that point in the game. He also got the ball out at the perfect time, just ahead of the defenders coming into him. And Tyreek Hill found a wide open space because he ran a beautiful route. And one of the 49ers defenders, Emmanuel Mosley, the right, was because he had the wrong play call. He was playing a different coverage to the rest of his teammates, which was a key detail because throughout the whole game, the 49ers defense was so good that they forced the Chiefs offense to earn every single thing that they got. Even the touchdown run for Mahomes in the first half, it came on 3rd down, I believe, and it came after they failed to run in between the tackles twice. So that was the first easy play that the offense got. It was the first big mistake for the 49ers defense. And from there, it was a little bit of a feeling of the inevitable coming. They capped that drive off with a touchdown throw to Travis Kelce, wide open in the back of the end zone after a play action. And then Mahomes went after Richard Sherman. Very famously, Richard Sherman isn't someone you throw the ball at. But this game was a matchup nightmare for him because Richard Sherman is 6'4", 6'5", a really, really big, heavy cornerback. He's become arguably the best cornerback ever, a certain Hall of Fame player, by leaning on receivers and swallowing them up and bullying them. It's really hard to do that against guys who have smaller or who have lower centers of gravity, who are also sprinters. So the receivers in the game were always a mismatch for him, but we didn't see a big play against Sherman until the very end when Sammy Watkins got open downfield on the next drive that led to the game-winning touchdown. So the fourth quarter was incredible. Mahomes made those plays, and it was if another quarterback did it, we'd be talking about how shocked we were. But really, we were shocked it took long until the fourth quarter for it to actually happen. This Chiefs is the only team ever to win the Super Bowl coming back from 10-point deficit in each of their playoff games. They've done it in all 3 games. They did it earlier in the previous games, and this one they just saved for the end. But we do kind of have to point out as well, like the reason it was able to happen was Jimmy Garoppolo couldn't move the ball for the 49ers because all they needed was 2 first downs, run the clock a little bit, and Mahomes wouldn't have had the time to come back. Okay,
well, fair point. Well, I'll come to the 49ers in just one second, but you mentioned Andy Reid, so we should pick up on that. 61 years of age, this was his 2nd Super Bowl. He's been in the NFL as a coach for 28 years, and he had that title that nobody really wants, which was best coach to have never won the Super Bowl. How big a monkey was that on his back? Was there a failing previously in his career, Cian, that he's put right this season or in recent times?
I've always been, like, I'm probably the wrong person to ask because I've never been someone who criticizes Andy Reid because I think he's always, like, winning the Super Bowl is extremely difficult and it's relied on a little bit of luck every year. Sure. There's only one team out of 32. It's like, even the Premiership is only 20 teams. Like, if you look at GA Championships, there's fewer teams. The Six Nations is only 6 teams. There's 32 of these teams and it's heavily controlled with salary cap, and oftentimes it's a matter of who's the healthiest and who gets there in the end. And to me, I've always looked at Andy Reid as a coach who gets the most out of what he's given. In the past, he's had Alex Smith, a quarterback, who Alex Smith is loved but extremely limited. He's had Donovan McNabb, a quarterback, a guy who was good but a little bit inconsistent and not someone you would necessarily rank amongst the top players in the league. He got to a Super Bowl with McNabb and Terrell Owens on that team years and years ago. In between them, you had Nick Foles. He never got to work with Carson Wentz. He never really had a great quarterback until Mahomes came along. And Mahomes, as someone who was very skeptical of Mahomes coming into the NFL, he came out of college as someone with a lot of flaws. Like, his footwork has never been spectacularly refined. He's not always putting his feet in the perfect place. He's not always throwing the ball technically the way he's supposed to throw it. But Reid sat him down for his first year, improved the little areas that he needed to become this special superstar player that we have now, who's going to dominate this league for the next 10 years. So Reid has really, really earned this. Any criticism of him for not winning a Super Bowl in the past has to completely go away now, because he built this whole team. Every single thing about this team was built by Andy Reid because he runs the personnel as well as coaching. So you've got like guys like Sammy Watkins, who he got in free agency. You've got guys like Tyreek Hill, who he drafted. Frank Clark, who they traded for. Mahomes, who he drafted and developed, obviously, and got value in trading away Alex Smith to Washington. So this is one of the best run teams in the league, and this Super Bowl for Reid is late, but it's thoroughly deserved. Yes,
okay, so it copper fastens his credentials, which, as you said, many people have accepted long before now. That brings us to the man in the other corner, Kyle Shanahan. So 31-20 the final score. It was 20-10 going into that fourth quarter, a 10-point lead. You mentioned Garoppolo's failings. 3 times in Super Bowl history has a 10-point lead been thrown away in the fourth quarter. Now, Kyle Shanahan has been coach on 2 of those 3 occasions. So once being careless and all that, once being unfortunate, twice being careless and all that. How culpable is Shanahan here? Are there patterns here, even with the Patriots game as well, where they also threw away a big lead? What's the word on Shanahan this morning?
I don't think so. I think that's the way it's always going to be in retrospect. But what Kyle Shanahan did was stay aggressive, and he tried to throw the ball. He tried to get first downs. He didn't just try and run the clock. Everyone said to do, but whenever it doesn't work out, we all blame the guy for trying to do it.
And sorry to interrupt.
He gets blamed for everything.
Yeah, sorry to interrupt, Cian. What did you think in real time when he went that route?
No, I'm 100% in favour of it. You have to. You can't, because the defense is selling out to stop you from running the ball. So if they're selling out to stop you from running the ball, you're obviously going to struggle to move the ball. So you have to throw it. To me, it's an indictment of Jimmy Garoppolo. It's not an indictment of Kyle Shanahan. They got to the Super Bowl without Garoppolo playing well, without him having to do much. And you saw the key moment in that game, which is another thing he's going to be criticised for. At the end of the second quarter, there was 1 minute and 30 left on the clock, and they had 3 timeouts. Shanahan left 40 seconds go off the clock and then tried to run the time off the clock rather than go and try and score. And the reason he did that is Garoppolo is a quarterback who is completely bound to having the running game set up the passing game. If he has to drop back on his own, like Patrick Mahomes, and figure out where to go with the ball without the threat of the run drawing the attention of the defense, he's more than likely going to throw an interception, like he did twice last night. And when you have a quarterback like that, you are completely hampered and you're completely handcuffed. And Shanahan has very clearly recognized that his quarterback isn't someone he can massively trust, isn't someone he can rely on to drag him through games. And you actually saw last night, at the time, John Lynch was doing the timeout signal like that to try and encourage him to take the timeout and get the ball back as soon as possible so they could try and go and score. John Lynch is the guy who gave that quarterback his $140 million deal. Whether Shanahan ran that, whether Shanahan was all in on that, I'm not sure, but it's very clear by this stage that they have some reservations about his quality of play. Okay,
so they're almost trying to circumvent their own quarterback en route to a Super Bowl, which is not easy. On Kansas going forward then, so Mahomes is 24 years of age. Dynasties are hard built and sustained in the NFL for obvious reasons that we've discussed even in this conversation. So in Mahomes, do they have somebody here, and in Reid, who you've been impressed with obviously, can they build something pretty special here over the next 4 or 5 years?
Look, any superlative you have for Patrick Mahomes, you can put it on him and it's not going to be hyperbole. This guy is stupidly good. He's got all the athleticism of Aaron Rodgers. He's got all the spectacular plays of Aaron Rodgers, but he has that intelligence of Tom Brady. He has that ability to move within the pocket like Drew Brees. So you're combining the best traits of the very best quarterbacks in the most recent generation. The only major problem for the Chiefs is the Baltimore Ravens have their own version of that generational quarterback, and they're in the same conference. So Lamar Jackson, the Ravens quarterback, and Patrick Mahomes, I think this is going to be like Peyton Manning, Tom Brady for the next decade, where these two guys are just fighting each other for the Super Bowl every single year, because they're both spectacular talents and spectacularly good at making plays at right and big moments, but they're also very technically refined and very precise in everything that they do. So they're very different in style. Like the interesting part of this playoffs was how much Patrick Mahomes ran the ball, because he's not a quarterback. He's not athletic. He's not a running quarterback. He's someone who recognizes when the defense is overplaying the pass, and he can run outside and create a big play. His rushing touchdown came on a drive where they faced a 3rd and 11, and Mahomes dropped back in the pocket. There was no one open, and he showed great patience to let the plays develop, so the receivers went as far downfield as they possibly could, which created space for him underneath to run into. And then he got outside, got 10 yards. They were able to convert the 4th and 1, and that gave them their first touchdown. And it's little plays like that he makes every single time. So like the most shocking element of last night's game was the interception that he threw, or at least the first interception that he threw, because it was a complete coverage misread where he threw the ball straight to Fred Warner, and he's probably done that 4 times in his whole career. Like, that's not something you see from him ever. He's that precise and he's that good.
Okay. Listen, before you go, you mentioned Tom Brady there. He did his best to try and steal the stage with his ads. Reveal all if people haven't seen this.
Well, Hulu is over here is trying to promote their live sports, and They've got guys like Joel Embiid. They're putting huge money into these campaigns. And his advert was basically this dramatic pose. He's walking around Foxborough, I think it was, talking about how they're going to miss him and how there's going to be this big change. And then he goes, oh, well, I'm actually not talking about me. I'm not going anywhere. It's just that Hulu has live sports. And it was kind of a predictable twist. But the adverts last night, like Super Bowl adverts are always a big deal. And one of last night's ones were really, really good. But one of my favorite ones was Chris Evans, the Marvel Captain America actor, doing a Boston accent with John Krasinski and Big Poppy as well. There's some very, very good ones, but there's also some kind of heart-wrenching ones were there as well. And then there was some kind of where they were very clearly just selling the old influencer Instagram type and trying to rely on that.
Well, there was the Google one about a man trying to remember his partner, which worked. And then even the way they brought the ball onto the pitch.
That was beautiful.
That was amazing. Yeah. And I don't know, I'm getting shook in my old age, but even the kid who was like the lead actor carrying the ball all the way through the advert runs onto the pitch, and you know all the other kids are with him, and then he's running off the pitch, and this little a girl running beside him puts out her hand as if to say "good job done," and I don't know, maybe I am shook, but it hit home.
Americans love a bit of pageantry, and they love a bit of
schmaltz.
Things. Like there was about 45 minutes there where they told you the game is starting and before the game actually started with all the nonsense they come up with. Yeah. But sometimes they do it very well. And last night, to be fair to them, it was really good.
They always do it well. What was the verdict on the halftime show? I haven't seen it yet. I conked out. I was asleep. I have to hold my hands up here. I'm gonna watch this evening.
You're not missing much. Okay. These halftime shows, like a lot of it was J-Lo trying to point to her ass, which, if you're into that, I guess no one's complaining really. And Shakira was there kind of doing the Latin, Spanish songs, and then they went to J-Lo and did English. But my thing with these shows is they always do medleys. They never just like pick 3 or 4 of their songs and sing them in the 15 minutes that they've got. They do these medleys, and I don't think anyone enjoys them, to be honest. But if you do watch it, the highlight is always the crowd, because they are paid actors trying to pretend they're having a great time, and it never looks good.
The last one I remember watching thinking, oh, this isn't bad, was Katy Perry, and there was like a giant elephant or something riding across the stadium. It was pretty spectacular. The shark. Yeah, I thought that was kind of amazing. It was Maroon 5 last year, which was a travesty. I can't remember a lot of them. They're always the best. A lot of them are dreadful.
The best one they had was Bruno Mars. He was outstanding, and I think he brought Beyonce out, if I remember correctly.
Yeah. Okay. Well, listen, we're getting to all the big issues here, Cian. We are out of time. Thanks so much. Appreciate it.
Yeah, tell Kieran to not give me such a downplayed lead-in next time.
Okay, I will pass that on. All right, back in a sec.
Off the Ball on News Talk. Screen Time with Cian Fahey.
Has Clint Eastwood still got it? How crazy did things get backstage with Judy Garland? And what's Baz Ashmawi's favourite movie? All these questions and more answered on this week's Screen Time.
Screen Time with Cian Fahey.
Brought to you by Stella Cinemas.
On News Talk.
Listen and subscribe to the podcast now on newstalk.com or on the News Talk app.
123.ie. A better jingle is out there, and I'm going to find it.
123 Money Limited trading as 123.ie is regulated by the Central Bank of Ireland.
At Volvo, we have always protected people. We are committed to protecting our planet too. Every journey counts. That's why we are offering 12 months free electricity with the Volvo XC60 plug-in hybrid. By reducing fuel consumption and emissions, it means every journey you make counts even more. Make the switch today. Contact your local Volvo retailer to arrange a test drive. Terms and conditions apply. Refund is based on vehicle's average electricity cost during that period.
Home sweet home. Maybe it's in the middle of town or the middle of nowhere, or maybe you haven't found your home just yet. That's why our Bank of Ireland mortgage specialists cover the length and breadth of Ireland to meet you at a time that suits you best. Meet us in branch, in a coffee shop, or even in the little slice of country you call home to chat about your personal mortgage plans. Anywhere, anytime. Bank of Ireland. Begin. Lending criteria and terms and conditions apply. Security and insurance required. Over 18s only. Bank of Ireland Mortgage Bank, trading as Bank of Ireland Mortgages, is regulated by the Central Bank of Ireland.
Switch to Sky Broadband now and come home to ultra-fast speeds of 1 gigabit and our best ever Wi-Fi. So online gamers can set records in the attic, while chefs stream inspiration in the kitchen. And movie lovers can lose themselves in the living room. to switch to our best ever broadband from just €35 a month for 12 months. Search Sky Broadband today. Availability subject to location. Set up fees, terms and conditions apply. For more info, see sky.ie/speeds.
Off the ball. This is News Talk.
Now, welcome back. Plenty more Super Bowl chat, I'm sure, right across the week. The Snap will be coming at you Friday with a full look back on events in Miami last night. Coming up in the next hour, delighted to say Ronan O'Gara in studio giving his verdict on the opening round of the 2020 Guinness Six Nations. And Billy Joe Padden will be talking Mayo Dublin. We'll be talking confidence in Galway, a new era in Galway, and Kerry, the real deal. All on the way.
I remember lying back, pillows on me bed late afternoon, looking at the top of my wardrobe, stacked with boxes of Morrow bars. Batch loaf, not the heels. And butter's another thing. Over the last couple of years, I've gone back, because I wouldn't have tasted butter for about 15, 20 years. Yeah, bread. Bread was a big thing for me when I went over to England. I missed it. Vienna rolls.
Toast.
Rings of pudding used to have sausages. My ma used to be packed in the luggage compartment on a...
Surely they did sausages well.
Right there.
English sausages wouldn't be.
They're Irish recipe, which is nowhere near, is it?